Let me invite you to imagine something with me. Picture yourself opening a drawer in your mind. Inside that drawer, place a single photograph of someone you've never met. Don't look at their face yet, just set it there, face down. We'll come back to this drawer later. For now, just know it's there, waiting. When tools like the ones we're already seeing, the ones that can place your face into any scene you can imagine, become as simple as the crop button on your camera, what happens to trust? What happens when putting yourself on a yacht in Monaco or skydiving over New Zealand requires nothing more than a voice command and 3 seconds of patience? And here's where it gets strange. Most people haven't caught up to this yet. The average user still assumes that a photo on a dating profile represents something that happened, some weekend trip, some moment of joy or adventure, but that assumption has an expiration date, maybe a year, maybe less. The filters that dating apps promise will catch AI-generated images. They're playing catch-up in a race they've already lost. Because the tools aren't staying in some separate app you have to download. They're baking themselves into the operating system. Right next to the button that lets you adjust brightness, there will be a button that says, "Reimagine this," and you'll use it. Not because you're dishonest, but because everyone else will be. There's a term in psychology for what happens when we can no longer trust our perception, reality monitoring failure. It's the brain's inability to distinguish between memories of real events and memories of imagined ones. Normally this happens in clinical settings, in people with certain cognitive conditions, but what we're describing here is the voluntary mass market version. A world where everyone is gently encouraged to blur the line between what happened and what could be made to look like it happened. And once that line is blurred, the whole game changes. Now imagine that mechanism scaled up. Imagine an entire dating ecosystem where the profiles you see aren't just exaggerated, they're generated. Not the people themselves, but their presentation. Their best selves, optimized by an AI that knows exactly which activities, which angles, which settings trigger the reward centers in your brain. You'd swipe, you'd match. And by the time you met them, you'd have already fallen in love with someone who was, in some sense, imagined. But let's say dating apps don't just collapse under the weight of this. Let's say they adapt. What would that adaptation look like? There was an episode in the series Black Mirror where two people are matched not by their profiles, but by simulation. The system runs them through 1,000 different scenarios, 1,000 first meetings, coffee dates, arguments, reconciliations, all inside a virtual engine. Then it scores their compatibility based on what happened in those simulated lives. And the reveal, the twist, is that the whole thing has been happening without them knowing. They were the simulation all along. This isn't science fiction anymore, it's practically here. If you give me two people with enough chat history, enough tweets, enough Instagram captions and comment threads, I can train a language model to speak like them. Not perfectly, but close enough. Then I can have those two models meet, I can put them on a train together, I can seat them across from each other at a dim restaurant and let them talk. And then I can ask a third AI to watch the conversation and rate how well they clicked, how often they laughed, whether they'd want to see each other again. You'd have a matchmaking algorithm that doesn't rely on what people say they want. It relies on who they are when no one's performing. And this is as bad as it's ever going to get, because the models will improve, the simulations will get more accurate, and eventually you'll come to expect that the person you're meeting has already been pre-vetted by 1,000 ghost conversations you never had. You'll sit down, realize you click immediately, and feel nothing. No surprise, no spark of the unexpected, just the mild satisfaction of a prediction coming true, the same feeling you get when your phone suggests the next word in your sentence and it's correct. Useful, unremarkable, forgotten 5 minutes later. So what happens when meeting someone you're genuinely compatible with becomes just another feature your app provides? Remember that drawer you opened at the beginning, the one with the photograph inside? I want you to open it now. Look at the face in that photo. You've never met this person. But here's the question. Did they ever exist? This is the trick. This is what I mean. You created someone just now from nothing because I suggested a frame and you did the rest of the work. You gave them features, maybe a hairstyle, maybe even a feeling, and none of it was real, but for a moment it was real enough. That's what's happening right now with dating apps, with profiles, with the whole architecture of how we meet people online. We're being asked to fall in love with frameworks, suggestions, prompts, and our brains are so cooperative, so eager to complete the pattern that we do. We fill in the gaps, we write the story, And then we're surprised when the person we meet doesn't match the person we invented. But here's the deeper loop, the thing I've been building toward. You've been experiencing this the entire time you've been watching this. I've been feeding you possibilities, hypotheticals, imagined futures. I never said any of this will happen. I said it might. I framed it as exploration, as something we're discovering together. And because of that framing, because I invited you into the idea instead of declaring it at you, your brain started generating its own examples. You started imagining your own version of this future. You participated. And now the argument doesn't feel like mine anymore. It feels like something you arrived at, something you believe because you reasoned your way into it. That's the same mechanism dating apps are about to weaponize, not by lying to you, but by giving you just enough information to make you lie to yourself, to make you fall in love with your own imagination, then believe it was the other person all along. So what can we do about this? Maybe nothing. Maybe this is just what happens when the tools for creating illusion become easier to use than the tools for verifying truth. Maybe we're entering an era where real becomes a luxury good, something you have to pay extra to verify, like organic produce or handmade furniture. Or maybe, and this is the possibility I want to leave you with, maybe we learn to value something different, not the perfect match, not the compatibility score, but the surprise, the misalignment, the moment when someone says something you didn't predict, does something your model of them would never have generated. The glitch, the error, the thing that reminds you they're not a simulation. Because in a world where everything can be optimized, the most valuable thing might be the thing that refuses to fit the pattern. That photograph in your drawer, the one you imagined, maybe you should leave it there, not because it wasn't beautiful, but because it never had a chance to disappoint you. And disappointment, it turns out, might be the last proof we have that something's real.